Away we go. All right. Thanks, guys, for joining in. This is our third installment, or part three, of taking apart Erik Kane's defense of Rey as not being a Mary Sue. Now, if you know anyone about Literature Devil, he's done all kinds of videos about, well, literature, and he looked at the Mary Sue value of, was it Rey or other characters? What did you do exactly, sir?
Well, I did use Ray as an example, but I just use I went over what the definition of Mary Sue is, the most basic definition, and Ray was a pretty good example of a more modern uh, version of Mary Sue that everyone can pretty much look up and know about at the moment.
Yeah, she is like the poster child for Mary Soonis. And the problem that we've had with Erik Kain in the past on our two other streams is that his definition is too strict, or it's too subjected to his own taste as not understanding what Mary Sue is. It's not hard to figure out what a Mary Sue is if you don't know. You have Google, Google is your friend. This is like the most common response to things. All you gotta do, like there's all these flavors of Mary Sue. There's copycat Sue, there's God Mode Sue, which is pretty much his flavor of Ray, but just a few steps below that. And anything that doesn't match that is automatically not Mary Sue. So Ray has some faults and failings, but she quickly solves those problems, and she doesn't know how, and no one else does. The narrative doesn't know. Finn doesn't know, and it's just a consistent thing where she fails and then boom, solves it, or she gets some training from Luke and boom, now she can do anything. Like
Even Eric Kane mentions that she doesn't know how she does things sometimes, and he uses that as a defense that she's not a Mary Sue, which is more of a defense that she is a Mary Sue.
yeah, it's bizarre. It's just, as if he must be right, or the definition must hold. Therefore, everything I say is right. It's very strange. So anyway,
And
let's go.
the past two installments have been basically his definition of Mary Sue is really strict unless he's talking about someone who isn't Ray, and then becomes more malleable.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah, I'm trying to characterize his thinking, and it's like, yeah, I guess it's one way of putting it. I would say he just try to looks at any problem in question, either derides it, or comes up with a definition, or comes up with an explanation that is like nonsensical. So it's like Luke. Luke is much more of a Mary Sue than Ray is because I said so. And you're like, wait. I thought you said Mary Sue was like this god person. Luke was not a god. He was never that way. So we don't know what his mindset on these things, but we will see his third attempt. And this is a direct refutation, I think, from a Facebook post. He actually decided to take some questions and comments and actually reply. So let's see what he has to say. Okay. In 2015, when The Force Awakens came out, and now again in 2017, The Last Jedi, one point of contention keeps rearing its ugly, lazy, boring head is that Rey is a Mary Sue because she can do everything perfectly and everyone loves her. No, she can do everything near perfectly, and almost, I think everyone pretty much likes her. Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah, even Kylo Ren likes her, and he's the villain.
Yeah. I'll address this argument twice now. Once for The Force Awakens. Oh, grammar. I've addressed this argument twice. So he links to his blog posts. The gist of my argument is pretty simple. Rey is kind of like a new Luke, and like Luke, she's able to do a lot of stuff really well thanks to the Force. She is like Luke on crack, if you want to be more accurate, I think. If you want to level the Mary Sue critique at her, you have to level at the entire. And yes, we can do that. There are videos on YouTube where you
Mhm.
compare Rey and Luke and Anakin and sand and the high ground to.
Yes, there is those.
Those are brilliant. Yeah, they're out there. So even if he doesn't want to read or watch or look at any other media, you can just go on YouTube and find it.
And Luke, Luke in the first movie, he managed to get a little bit of training from Ben, and he was able to do very minute things with the Force, if anything at all, really. And then we have his main point he brings up is when Luke used his feelings or something when he shot the final uh, missile into the Death Star,
Right.
which might be the Force, and then it might not be because it's he says use your feelings, And we know that Luke has a lot of instinct from his past flying experiences, and his dad. He inherited good piloting skills from his dad. So the Force does help you. It helps it helps your abilities. That's something that the Force has been established to do, and allows you to do some really cool stuff.
Yeah, and in that instance, there's literally a voice in his head telling him what to do.
Yeah,
So it's like Ben's like, use the force. Luke's like, who the, what the hell? Oh, okay. It's like, thanks.
and and from a guy, not a lightsaber.
Yeah, it's an actual voice in your head telling you what to do. You close your eyes and you intuitively look at what you're trying to do. You calm down, whatever. That's breathing technique. Who knows? We don't know. Fine. Does Ray have voices in her head telling her what to do, or how to do it? Nope.
Nope, she just does it.
One of the things I hear over and over again to back up this argument is Ray doesn't have any training, so how could she just be good, powerful, skilled in the Force? Da-da-da. And his response to that is count how many replies to this mentioned training. Okay.
We know Kylo Ren has had training. They tell us he has had training. Uh, Ray has no training, so there would be no reason why everyone would complain about Kylo Ren's training because he's clearly had training, either first under Luke and then more than likely under Snoke.
Right. Now let's actually list the things he listed a few, not all of them. But
Hmm.
people make it because Ray could fly the Millennium Falcon because she mind tricks a stormtrooper, which she had no training over. Because she fought off Kylo Ren mentally as well, which she had no training over. And she was more powerful than him and could read his mind.
Yeah,
I don't know how that works, but
he tried to read her mind, and then she's so good in the Force without any training that not only that she stopped him from reading her mind, but she read his mind.
and apparently because she mistakenly flew to Snoke's ship on a fool's errand to turn Kylo Ren, failed at that and almost got killed until Ren saved her. Did
Didn't
he?
save her. He saved her a little bit, like sort of. He manipulated the lightsaber to cut Snoke in half to stop his control over Rey. But after that, they start fighting guards, and Rey actually saves Kylo's life in the
Yeah.
end because she could handle all her guards pretty much no problem. And Kylo needed help.
Yeah. It's like, okay. Saved her and then fought one of Snoke's guards while Kylo Ren fought off the rest and barely managed to escape with her life. And then she escaped the entire ship by somehow stealing Snoke's ship and starting it up and getting past security and all that crap, and then somehow knowing to fly to Crate, and then knowing to hook up with Chewie, and somehow having some sort of docking procedure between the two ships to get onto the Millennium Falcon, and then getting to Crate, and then just stopping all the TIE fighters. And then she moved some rocks, which were the size of boulders, and we're talking like 30 or 50 of them.
Basically, just moves a mountain on her own.
Yeah, I
With
mean, this is insane. Okay, here we go. First off, much of Rey's actual training came before the start of The Force Awakens. Really? As an orphan scavenger in Jakku, she needed to learn how to take care of herself. Okay, we agree. We said she was a survivalist. That's true.
She could survive by herself in the middle of the desert.
Right. She could fight. She could pilot. No, she does not know how to handle a gun. There's literally no evidence of that.
Yeah, that's why she carries around a stick.
Yeah, if she had a gun, she'd have a gun. The scene in The Force Awakens when she fires that pistol with extreme accuracy from far distance, she is shocked and looks at the gun and goes, "What the hell just happened?"
I just did something I didn't know how to do.
Okay, I mean, even if she didn't have that realization, she would still be a Mary Sue because that skill came out of nowhere. The kind of things you probably would learn if you were a woman on the rough. She was not a woman. She's a young girl, a little girl, and there's no explanation of how she became a young woman. To that
Also,
point.
there's no explanation of how she learned these survival skills she's had. So usually they have to have like some sort of mentor. Like they get abandoned, and someone takes them in and they teach them how to survive in the desert, and then the mentor dies, and then they're on their own. Like even if this is shown in a flashback or something, but no, she just has all these survival skills because she's so awesome that she can just be left alone as a kid on a desert planet and just find out how to survive easily.
And then he gives the example of Luke being pampered because he has an aunt and an uncle, even though he's working as a farmhand.
the farm boy, that farm boys are not pampered. They have hard back-breaking work.
And he learns how to fly one of those spaceships, which is seen in the background of when he's cleaning the droids when he gets them. It's broken, and so he we have evidence of him being a pilot.
Yeah, we even have evidence of him being able to shoot guns and fight too, because as we see in the same exact first movie of the original Star Wars trilogy, there's like raiders, there's bandits, there's thieves everywhere. So at any point in time, they could be attacked. So there's a lot of reason why he could Luke could have the knowledge of being able to fight, being able to do piloting,
Yeah,
shooting, all that
and
stuff.
yeah, he knows how to shoot. That's another good point because we actually have examples of that, shooting womp rats and having a rifle or what have you.
Yeah, and
Whereas
he's had several mentors. He's had Ben that he's known his whole life, and his uncle.
yeah, and we have stories and examples of him having that skill, whereas Ray has no skills at shooting things, and she can, again, a rifle is a way more accurate shot than a pistol. It doesn't matter what kind of gun you've got, whether it's a projectile or a laser or whatever. Um, yeah, so I don't know if he's aware of that, but he's trying to make it seem as if it's Luke's like pampered and didn't have all the skills, whereas Ray did have all the skills just because she's an orphan. All right. Remember, although Luke had pilot experience, we don't know if he ever flew an X-wing, and we know very well that he never flew one in rotation with Rebel fighters. We know that he did fly a ship, and we know that the controls were the same as an X-wing.
Yeah, at least very similar. So it made sense again. It was explained.
He has had no experience in a dogfight or taking down an enemy ship like the Death Star. However, he was able to do all of this because of the Force.
Oh come on! What what are you supposed to do there? Was he supposed to train taking on Death Stars his whole life
Yeah.
just so this could be? It is a one. No one has experience taking on a Death Star. That's a ridiculous point.
So now he's saying no training, not long months in Rebel flight school, but the Force. It guided him. I'm sure the Force did help him out, but he is a pilot.
Oh yeah. See, and that's one thing that the Kane seems to be trying to convey here is that the Force can just give you skills. I think this Force is more like an enhancement sort of thing. So you have to have the skill first, and then it'll enhance that skill. So like piloting, it make you a better pilot. If you if you use lightsaber, make you a better lightsaber fighter somehow. But it doesn't give you things. That's why you have to train in the Force to be able to use Force push and levitate things and Force lightning or whatever.
Right. So Luke trusts his feelings, not his training, in order to blow up the Death Star. Okay, that's
Yeah, he's
true. I mean, he's closing his eyes. He's not using the target computer, and he's timing when he's going to fire. And once he does that, the missiles take over. That's all he's doing is timing his shot. That's it. So there's no major. I mean, it is a force. He's calming down. I don't even know if is this a force power. Is calming down and closing your eyes a force power? I have no idea.
It might be. I'm not sure. It might be like meditation or something.
Yeah, the Jedi do teach controlling your emotions. So he's focusing. So that
And
is
Ben did teach him that.
yeah, exactly. He did teach him to focus. So that is a training he had. Remember, the force is all around us, and everything force sensitive people can tap into it not because they're trained, because they can feel it. That's true. They can tap into it because they can feel something,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean they're any good at it.
Yeah. I mean, you can be like a raw prodigy at it. You might be able to use the Force a little bit, but not going to be. You're going to have like this groundbreaking Force powers at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, like Luke, Leia. She is force sensitive, and she can
But she
feel
never really used.
things, but that's it. That's all she can do. She can just sort of like, oh, something happened. I feel my brother. He's over there.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. She can feel. She can have a connection with Luke, but she never used anything that Rey could do. In not one thing. She had to do everything on her own, which kind of actually made her more of a awesome character because she didn't have any force powers to rely on. She was just shooting things
Yeah,
without much help.
she got by her wits and her intelligence and her organizational skills. Yeah. So trust your feelings, Luke, is one of the most famous quotations in Star Wars for a reason. Uh, okay, it sums up how the Force actually works. No, it doesn't. It's not a science. If it's not a science, it's not an art form. Why are there schools? Why are there
Jedi had
generations of
academy.
Jedi and Sith?
Like this is how you do it. It's how it's done. And if you do this correctly, you should be able to do these sorts of things.
Yeah, then he says Jedi feel. You know what? Jedi don't really feel all that much. In fact, that's the opposite of what Jedi do. Jedi control their emotions, so they don't feel. They don't get controlled. There is no feeling. There is only there is no passion. I'm trying to remember the quote from
From
Kotor,
KOTOR. Yeah.
but
It's the opposite. Sith are the ones that have
yes,
they
exactly.
ex- they emphasize feeling. The Jedi control it and suppress it.
I guess you could say that in this regard, the Jedi look at positive feelings like being relaxed and peaceful as a feeling, because why else would Obi-Wan say trust your feelings?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Jedi's philosophy, as far as I can tell, is kind of like the golden mean, where it's just not too much, but not too little either. You have to. It's still a valuable resource. Your feelings are still a valuable resource, but if you let your feelings go too wild, that's what leads to the dark side.
Right, because we see the other Jedi in the prequels that they're not like robots. They actually have feelings. They're just not getting crazy about them. They're not yelling at each other. They're not enraged. They are trained to not be like that. Now, Rey, on the other hand, has no such inhibitions because she doesn't even know what she's doing. Okay. Her success piloting the Millennium Falcon probably is due to her having flown a ship in the past. Okay, which one?
What kind of ship? Because we know the X-wing is similar to what Luke used to drive. What kind of ship did she drive that's similar to the Millennium Falcon?
There is a quote, I can't remember what it says, but she does when her and Finn are on the ship. She's like, "I've never done this before. I've never actually flown off the planet." It's like, oh, so you have flown, but we don't know how much, in what capacity, and it certainly wasn't one of these Corellian freighters. So
But she can fix. She can fix it, no problem.
she can just take it apart, no problem. Yeah, it's amazing. She's not doing it all on her own. She doesn't even understand or realize why. But we know the Force works within you actively, not passively. Okay, so this implies that the Force is like a storehouse of knowledge. It just can give you
It's
knowledge you need.
it's just giving her things, and that actually cheapens her character if he's going with his argument, because that means she's not doing anything. It's the Force doing everything. Has no control over it. She's like a puppet, and that's not very heroic. That's not a good character. If he's just a puppet that has no
Yeah,
autonomy.
and plus, it's not what the Force is. The Force does not just give you knowledge. It's not divine information. It's a feeling. It's not a thought.
Yeah, the only
So
thing that they're not the only sorts of knowledge the Force can canonically give you are things you get from feelings, like when Obi-Wan Kenobi felt everyone die in Alderaan. He felt it. He doesn't know things from like thousands of years ago. That's why they have holocrons.
right. I doubt we're going to get holocrons in the next movie, but who knows what they're going to do, what JJ's going to do with what he was given from Ryan Johnson. Anyway, let's keep going. She's both jubilant after evading the enemy and puzzled by it. How did she do that? Yeah, how did she do that? The answer is
She doesn't
simple.
even know.
Yeah, the Force. So she doesn't know, the narrative doesn't know, we don't know. Oh, but Eric Kain knows it's the
Yeah,
Force.
he knows. And so trust your feelings, and then she did a really good job. She managed to defeat everyone, and she doesn't even know. Therefore, she's not a Mary Sue.
Because
She's
she,
so awesome. She doesn't even know why she's so awesome.
maybe that's the linchpin is because she has no knowledge. That's a new kind of Mary Sue. Was it the ignorant Sue?
She's stupid of everything. She has no knowledge. She's really ignorant of everything, but she can just do everything.
Is that a trope? I don't think.
Not that one that I know of.
Relationship Sue, purity Sue, parody Sue. It could be parody Sue.
Unfortunately, I don't think. I mean, it's close to Parody Sue, but they're playing her like seriously.
The anti Sue. Ooh, that could be one. The anti Sue.
The anti Sue is more like the opposite of Mary Sue, where everyone hates her. She can't do anything right. She always loses.
Oh,
I mean,
jeez.
it all depends. An anti Sue can, I think, the anti Sue can vary on whether everyone likes him. It can be everyone hates him and they suck at everything, or they suck at everything but everyone still loves them. I think I think it could be either one of those.
It's getting very dodgy because he's trying to explain she is so powerful because of the Force, and yet that's the thing that makes her a Mary Sue is this power that comes out of nowhere. And
This
it's
unexplained power that she has. Like
but
she,
but because of that, she's not a Mary Sue. It's like what?
because she's so powerful and so good, doesn't know exactly why she's so powerful and so good. She's not a Mary Sue.
We'll keep reading this paragraph. Maybe it'll explain it. The Force is seriously overpowered, and that's okay. Well, no, you don't want Deus Ex running around through your story. It's the reason for all kinds of things in the Star Wars saga, and yes, it's a magical power and kind of cheating, but that's the story we're talking about, not some realistic science fiction movie where normal rules apply. Okay, well, that's partially true, but
When you have to go that argument, you have no argument.
it's
It's
like saying, why did the Emperor become the way he is? Well, the Force. It's like, well,
it's
that
because
helped him, but he wouldn't have just become the leader of the Senate and then this and that
I mean, you could do this argument anywhere as long as it's a fantastical world. It's like, how come blah 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 happens? Well, it's because it's a fantastical world and anything can happen.
because magic exists in the Harry Potter franchise. Therefore,
You X can happen.
yeah, that's not yeah.
That- that's cheap. That's just cheap plot hole filler. Like, okay, how come this doesn't make any sense? How come this happened in your movie? Oh, because
Yeah,
magic.
and
Wizard did it.
if she's not a Mary Sue, then that just means it's bad writing. So I mean, the trade offs are not really worth it to argue for or against. Stop treating Star Wars like it adheres to anything realistic at all. Well, it adheres to its own lore.
Yeah, that's one thing it has to do if you're writing something in a fantasy or sci-fi realm. Because you invent its own lore, and then your stories have to abide by it.
Everything from the spaceships to the amazing aim of all the good guys and terrible aim of the stormtroopers is incredibly unrealistic, and that's okay. Well, that's another issue with the story, and you couldn't argue it's because of the Force. We need the heroes to survive, so we got to make sure the bad guys who are seriously outnumbered don't get shot at or don't get shot out at enough so that they can escape. So that's more of a convention in storytelling with a contrivance to get the story continuing. But just because one contrivance exists in one story doesn't mean another contrivance can exist in the same story.
Yeah, it's kind of like I think it's either called or similar to the ninja rule, where if you got one guy fighting off like 100 ninjas, he can fight them off all easily. But if it's one ninja versus the hero, then it's like this really awesome ninja. Like
Oh, right, yeah.
he's like unbeatable. So it's kind of like that philosophy.
Then he's taking another stab at Leia. Here we go. On a side note, he just goes out. He's crazy. People who complain about Leia surviving the vacuum of space must have just forgotten that whole bit in Empire Strikes Back when Han Solo, Leia, and Chewie all survive in a giant space worm on an asteroid with no atmosphere. Gosh, what a terrible movie that was for not adhering strictly to realism.
Now, I can't I don't remember that movie exactly because it's been a long time. But didn't they have like helmets or something when they went out there? Or they
They
had like
they
something
had
that covered their
some sort
mouths
of
or something.
breathing
Yeah,
apparatus. Um, it had gravity, so you
they just
technically
strictly
have.
say there's no
Yeah,
atmosphere.
if there's gravity and you're walking around outside,
And I'm pretty sure there
technically,
was atmosphere.
yeah, there is like there would have to be an atmosphere if there's like Mars has an atmosphere, but
Like, there was fog. There's like the ground was covered in fog.
like the moon
There
has
were
an
creatures
atmosphere,
flying
but
around,
you can't breathe.
and they had some sort of devices that helped them survive in there. They weren't just walking around with no air and no atmosphere in the vacuum of space all easily.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he's going with this. The believability of a scene, because at that point in time, we think it's a a planet. Because remember how they go into the asteroid
Yeah,
or an asteroid ish, and they realize this is the belly of a beast. So if you're in the gastrointestinal system of a creature, guess what? There are gases in there. Now, the pressure system is another argument we can make, but we're not going to delve too deep because obviously they weren't thinking of that in the movie. We'll just keep going. We also know that Rey is much more powerful than Luke. Yeah. he
yeah, she's
tells
way
her,
more powerful.
he tells her in The Last Jedi he's only seen one other person with such power. That's Kylo Ren. Although obviously Snoke is incredibly powerful too, but I don't know if Luke ever encountered Snoke in person. Combining this raw power with her lack of inhibitions and her emotional connection to the Force. Oh, it's not just a connection.
It's an emotional
I don't
connection.
know what the difference is, but
I
okay.
guess because she's a woman, she has like an emotional empathy or something,
Using
and
her
then that's
feelings.
why she's so powerful.
Her feelings are a weapon. Okay. And you can start to see how training is just one of many factors in becoming a Jedi. Okay, yeah, training is very important. Why you're making our point for us there, Eric? Yeah, training is one of many factors in becoming a Jedi. That's why they train you early on. That's why they don't really accept students later in life because they will not be able to adapt as quickly and it might not even be worth it. Um, I don't know why he's negating his point that she doesn't need training, but apparently it's not a
Yeah,
big
apparently
deal.
in the last two articles, he said something like, "Since when did training become a important part of the Star Wars universe?"
Every time we see
So,
Luke who's failing,
so obviously he doesn't think training is an important or integral part
yeah,
of
every
the whole
time
thing.
Yoda talks to him, every time Obi-Wan talks to him, it's like you gotta train, man. It's like,
Yeah, it's just a one-off kind of thing with him. So all these training and stuff that's become the core element of Star Wars, nah, it's not that important after all.
yeah, but what about the mind trick? Well, first of all, I think this was just a way to include Daniel Craig's cameo. Okay, this is he's projecting here. This is not true.
Intended to be more humorous than anything. This is
Yeah,
a stupid argument because if it were intended to be humorous, it would have been that's it, humorous and funny, and then went off. She's still captured and stuff, but it wasn't humorous because it worked. Like if the stormtrooper had remained saying like, "What are you talking about? What are you trying to do?" and then just it didn't work, then okay, yeah, it was kind of humorous. But if it ended up the star or the stormtrooper ended up freeing her, it worked. It moved the story. It moved her to the next point of the movie. It wasn't just a joke.
if anything, you see it as not a ha ha joke, but a joke as if, oh come on, and you would laugh at it that way. It's like, "Poof, what?
It's really stupid. That's why it's funny, I
Yeah,
guess.
that's why it's funny. Exactly. Yeah. First, the vision Rey had when she touched Luke Anakin's lightsaber. We don't know how much that truly conveyed to Rey. Okay, fine. So what? I don't. What does that mean? That the lightsaber gave her force powers? What? We
And he
see
said
them.
this last time.
Yeah, this is weird. We see the montage and hear some words, but we don't know everything that it imparted to her in her. It gave her visions. That's it. Whatever the case, something changes in her after that moment. A spark is lit. Okay, I mean, I that's the premise of the story, right? That the Force is awakening and maybe touching a kyber crystal or whatever has memories and great. But how does that cause her to be a Jedi or be a Force beast?
Yeah, it's the first time I think, as far as the movies go, that you can just your talent in the force is just sparked alive by touching a lightsaber or kyber crystal or something. Usually, it's been you can be force sensitive your whole life. You just need training in it to bring that talent out.
That would be nice if whenever she held the lightsaber, she could feel the Force and do Force stuff, and that would be like a way of focusing her body without having training. So as soon as she holds the lightsaber, for whatever magical reason you want to explain, she can now do stuff with it. But as soon as she lets it go,
Like
like
she
she
can't,
can't.
she's powerless to focus.
Yeah, like because she doesn't know how to focus. She was never trained to focus,
That would
and
make it a lot fairer.
it
That
would
would make
make
it a lot
some
fairer.
sense
Yeah, it would make a lot more sense. And then she
if
loses
the
it.
yeah if
She can't do
the
it anymore.
predominant factor is the lightsaber, then that would have been a occurring thing where it's like, okay, as soon as she has it, it's now attached to her in some way. There could be a force bond. Again, this is silly, with an inanimate object, so that it's connected to her on some spiritual level outside of touching it physically. I mean, that's a stretch, but
That loses a lot of storytelling ability. If she has to physically touch it in order to get the powers, that they could ramp up tension. They could, they could do all sorts of things with that. So, like she loses it at the wrong moment. She's surrounded by stormtroopers or something, then she can't do her force powers anymore. Or, the lightsaber will become a lot more important to the storyline. They could do all sorts of stuff with that. plot point. But she's just awesome.
Yep,
That's all it
it's
is.
all internal. So later, Kylo Ren uses his magical Force powers to try and read her mind, but she resists. She doesn't do this because she knows she has the Force. She does it because she can.
Is this guy arguing that she is a Mary Sue or not?
Yeah, he's literally just telling us she has this ability out of nowhere.
She's not doing this because she was trained or because she knows. She's doing it just because she can.
She has no knowledge of it, and she can do it.
She could just do it. She can.
Eric, Eric, what are you doing, man? You just
Not only can she do it, she can overpower someone who's had training in this, and who Luke says in the second movie is supposed to be just as powerful as she is. But that's wrong because she's more powerful. Imagine if she had training, how powerful she would be.
And then we have a mention of Broom Boy at the end of The Last Jedi, which just makes the argument even worse. Random kid can use Force power to grab a broom. Kind of like you blink without meaning to and never notice it unless you can consciously pay attention to blinking. So because he's saying some other kid can do it and do something on a small level, therefore it's more believable. I mean, okay,
That's,
yeah, if there were more kids doing this and this was like a common theme, and you'd see moving rocks, playing balls, and he's moving the balls with his mind, you'd be like, all right, there seems to be a lot of kids with force powers that came out of nowhere. How is this even possible? But we would work with that, saying, okay, this is now a thing. Maybe this is a new permutation of the force, that because there's no Jedi left, the force generates Jedi or kids that have these abilities. Maybe that's the ongoing message of the force, of the balance of the force, how there's dark and light and whatnot.
maybe, but first of all, this doesn't really help his case any. It just makes it look like they're making more Mary Sues. And second of all, uh, then what makes if this is a phenomenon that's happening commonly in the universe now? What makes Rey so special?
And why isn't this part of the main story?
Yeah, is this something that's one off at the end of the second movie or something?
Yeah, it wasn't like this is an awakening and it's happening to everyone. It's like, no, 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 no. It's just Ray.
Yeah, if
So,
this was supposed to be an essential core element to this new Star Wars franchise,
yeah.
why isn't this a core element of the story?
Yeah, this is when a writer just says, I'm going to do whatever I want. They're going to give me a lot of money and they're going to just let me make props that cost millions of bucks to make. I'm going to make a $30 million set for Canto Bite and blow the budget on animatronics. It's like, why not? I got the
Yeah,
biggest franchise in the world. Let's do it.
I mean, whatever I pump out, they'll eat up and buy. That's pretty much their thinking here.
Yeah.
I
In
mean,
any
it could have
case,
been a lot better if Snoke was at the very first movie. Snoke was like capturing kids, but I don't know why. Like if Kylo
ooh,
was going around capturing different kids and rounding them up, but not every kid, just some of them, and they don't know why. And then we figured out that this the Force is awakening. All these kids are learning. You just have natural Force abilities. Then that would make more sense.
that would be a common theme. And then we'd say, hey, there's a kid over there in the second movie that does it. It's like, yep,
Yeah.
you're right. That would make more sense. In any case, Kylo Ren uses his mind powers on Rey, and this is what lights the Force fire in her. Okay, so wait a second here. First, she touches the saber. Now it lights up in her. Then Kylo touches her. Then it lights up again. It's like, what? How much more lighting does she need? Is she like a
She likes
vampire? Like,
drinking.
what's going on here?
So lightsaber lights it up. Kylo lights it up. And I thought Kylo was supposed to give her all of her powers and knowledge. That's why she fought back, and that's why she can do all these random Force powers now because she's so awesome and naturally good at everything. She's siphoned the knowledge out of Kylo Ren's mind. This is his argument. This is his argument. He made this argument, so I'm holding it to him.
Yeah, she realized she has powers at this moment, but I also think, so he's just guessing here, when she goes inside Kylo Ren's head, she gets more than just his thoughts? Okay. It's one
His
thing,
kids do.
yeah, it's one thing to either argue an inanimate object is giving you knowledge or that you have the ability to suck knowledge from an inanimate object without having any concept of how to do that. It's another thing to first get mind raped and then go, no, 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 I'm mind raping you. Not only am I mind raping you, I'm sucking out skills and experience and whatever. It's just like, what?
Something that's never been shown to happen before.
This is like, dude, you are really diving deep
I
into
mean,
this.
is this something that could happen? Why, how come the apprentice couldn't just like siphon the knowledge out of his master and be done with it?
Yeah, it's like I can just psychometrically absorb stuff from inanimate objects in people's brains, and I can kill anyone.
There'd be no need for a Jedi academies or anything. Just all right, you're my apprentice now. Suck the knowledge out of my head.
Yeah,
All right, now you're a Jedi.
you'd have like batter. You wouldn't even need holocrons. You just have batteries or
Yeah,
stuff. It's like, who's that? That's Master Lucius's shoe. Like, oh, he must have walked everywhere with those. Like, yep. It's like, touch it, boom. Now you're Master Lucius. It's like, whoa.
just suck all the knowledge from one guy to the next, and the next generation has all the knowledge from the previous generations and all the new experience from the current one.
Yeah. Oh, someone just mentioned that Kylo's mask is back. Was that poster reveal? Was that a real thing?
As far as Mark Hamill came out and said it was a fake. It was a fake poster
Yeah.
that leaked.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know, I'm not sure if he knows or not, but Mark Hamill said it was a fake.
Yeah. Okay. That's weird. It's there's been all these weird leaks, but that was I thought the official like a good leak, but
Yeah, it looks good. It looks good. But Mark Hamill said there was probably just like a overzealous fan.
I didn't like the way he held the lightsaber backwards and
Oh
his
yeah.
pinky finger like he was holding the hilt, and I was like, ooh, that's not safe. Anyway, she realizes she has powers at this moment, but I also think she goes inside his head. Blah blah blah. That's how she knows how to mind trick the guards. Though again, I think that was meant to be a funny scene, not a scene where we all argue about because we're so obsessed. So again, it's this is not really what happened. Even though this is what I think would happen, it's supposed to be funny. It's like, dude, okay, argue for or not. Like what? Either back up your claim or just say, nah, it's just a joke.
He can still think that it's still wrong because if it was just supposed to be funny, it wouldn't move things along. She wouldn't have been freed.
Yeah. So here we go. Now we're getting to the lightsaber training part. How did he beat Kylo? And the only argument is he was hurt or emotionally freed or confused as a result of killing his dad.
Now, why that does make sense story wise, considering this is the first movie, it doesn't because it would have been so much better if he was all wounded, emotionally struggling and hurt and everything, and still managed to beat Ray with almost no problem. That would give Ray something to, train to fight towards. That Kylo is just so powerful that he beat her even though he was pretty much on death's door. So that would give her something to work towards. That there's this almost unreachable goal that she has to meet somewhere down the line. But she just wins. She beats Kylo in the first movie. She beats Luke in the second movie. Who's she gonna beat next in the third movie? Who
Yeah.
knows?
Okay, so he compares it to Luke fighting Vader. Vader is obviously way more powerful, and Luke was just completely ill-equipped. And
Yeah.
you know that Vader's toying with him. It's just obvious.
Vader dominated the entire fight. It's not even the same ballpark. The two fights aren't even closely similar.
And Vader could have had a limp leg. He could have one leg. He probably still would have won.
Vader's pretty much on constant 24/7 life support.
Yeah, he's a walking oxygen mask. He's like,
So you, this guy's argument is invalid. Thank you very much.
I was going to say perfectly healthy, but Vader's, yeah, okay. In any case, Luke puts up a pretty good fight, even though he isn't fully trained. Something Yoda warns him about. Yes, that's a good point. He's not trained or fully trained. He loses a hand, but he survives and goes off to more training. Though I point out all this of his subsequent training was off screen and took place of his own. Yeah, but it went for months, at
Yeah,
least.
and it was off screen, but at least he had it.
Yeah,
At least he had training.
there's a time skip with the time skip in the Last Jedi. It's like a few hours at most.
She swings the sword around for a couple of days, and
Oh, that was
like,
training herself. Yeah. Oh, she was training. Yeah, by herself. There's still no explanation how he learned his lightsaber skills, since nobody was around to teach him. Okay.
she's so awesome. She doesn't need Luke's training. She just trains herself, and she levels up.
but that's fine. Even though we have conversations with Obi-Wan in a spirit form, you don't think he could have imparted something? It's like, yeah, or Yoda could have imparted something. Yeah. In any case, unlike Luke, Rey actually had common experience.
But the Yoda, as we come to find out, I mean, we don't. I mean, it's not. It's almost unfair because we don't know this in the original series. But Yoda is a master of lightsaber combat,
Right.
so it retroactively kind of makes sense. But uh, the Yoda is a Jedi master. He would uh, feasibly know how lightsaber combat works, even though if he doesn't use it or anything, if he's too old. He'd still know. So part of Luke's training could have easily been lightsaber combat.
Right. Well, we do see the training happen in the first movie anyway, but not extensively. So he has training, whether it's limited or not. There's still something there to point to, and
Yeah.
Rey has zero. So then we have the example of she was trained with a staff. This is true. She does have skills in that. Fighting with a staff and a sword, different. Not too different, but still pretty different.
They're pretty different. Like it's a staff. It's much longer, a lot different skills. You have more range. Sword, you have a. It's like two different skill sets. So I mean, you could. I mean, combat is combat, and she might be able to pick it up, but she basically would have to relearn how to use this weapon effectively if she's going to be in life or death situations.
So in any case, Rey does fend off Kylo in The Force Awakens. She doesn't beat him, but she doesn't lose him either. Well, that's because the ground opened up and the contrived story just decided to let them separate.
All right, Ray, you can't defeat him yet. He's kind of like the main villain. We're going to separate you two.
The director said no. Sorry, stop fighting.
I know you can beat him, Ray. You can beat him real easily, but not yet.
Time for some CGI. Get everyone on the green screen. All right, here we go. Remember that crossbow that Chewie was blasting people with? It was literally throwing people across entire rooms. Yeah, but it didn't throw Kylo across an entire room. Which goes to show you just how bloody powerful Kylo is.
Yeah.
Why
it blew him across the room? We still beat him.
Yeah. Imagine if it blew him across the room or it went right through his body and he was like on the ground, like in pain, and then he got back up. He's like, whoa.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
But it didn't. He stopped it. His chest. He went down on one knee. He was like, oh. Kylo Ren is obviously insanely powerful to even survive such a blast, but he does somehow and then goes running after two perfectly healthy people in the dark and cold. Okay.
Yeah, that's why he's kind of like the most, one of the strongest characters in the movie,
Yep.
Characteristically speaking. He has determination, he has motives, he has goals.
Yeah. But in the next sentence, he says, before Kylo Ren, now grievously wounded, even though the grievously wound is not as material as once thought because he's so powerful, fights Rey, has to fight off Finn, who doesn't really put up a decent fight, let's be honest.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's comedy relief.
Yeah, this weakens in slow. How does it weaken in slow Kylo? We just went through the point of him saying he shoots Kylo Ren with this extremely powerful blast, and he survives it, which means he's really strong. He's not as strong as before because obviously he got hit.
Yeah.
But he's still walking around. Then he fights Finn, and somehow Finn slows him down.
Doesn't he defeat Finn without breaking a sweat?
Yeah,
he's like,
cuts his back off. He's like, what?
Now, what happened to Finn? That's pretty much what should have happened to Rey.
Yeah, just gone. Recall also that Kylo Ren wasn't trying to kill Rey. I don't know. Throwing someone up 5 stories or 6 stories in the air with the Force, slamming her into a tree and having her slam back to the ground, that could pretty much kill someone.
Yeah, unless he knows she's a Mary Sue and would probably survive all that.
Exactly. He was trying to capture her. I don't think throwing someone that far, that hard, and letting her drop is his plan of capturing. I think it's just get the hell away from me. It's like, bam, go away while I take apart your crazy dude with the lightsaber. She was fighting for her life and trying very hard to kill. Yeah, meaning she was desperate, not actually working off training and muscle memory, just wildly swinging.
Yeah, and then wins.
And magically wins. This changes the entire dynamic of the fight since Kylo couldn't bring all his powers to bear. He had no problems flinging her with a wrist. Just think. But he didn't because the story told him not to. And then there was the whole scene of her fighting with the lightsaber, and they're both grabbing for it. And for some
Oh
reason,
yeah.
she can get it. He can't.
Even though he's had more training, he has more control of the Force.
More,
She
yeah.
just wins.
She just wins. Even if
I think
even
his
if
I think
he
what is
had
it?
his both his legs chopped off, he could still use the Force.
Oh
So
yeah. I mean, he could have like no legs or arms, or anything like that. He could still use the Force.
yeah. So why did she get the lightsaber and he didn't? Why? Because contrivance story.
She's just so awesome. She just gets. I think his argument is that the lightsaber chose Rey. And that's why it went to
That was a.
her.
It's a stupid. It's
Doesn't make any sense.
doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
First of all, the premise for that doesn't make any sense, and then the reason why she gets it does makes no sense. Makes even less sense.
And in the end, again, the Earth parts, and there's no resolution to the fight, and it's just up. We gotta go now. Go, bye bye, and boom. Rey is easily hoodwinked in The Last Jedi despite being the most Mary Sue character of all.
She's easily hoodwinked.
Yeah, okay. See, the problem I have with this is just because Rey is a Mary Sue doesn't mean that a character who is stronger than a Mary Sue can't overpower a Mary Sue. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
It's like we have a god and then we have a Mary Sue. Well, the god's going to win.
and again, I think she's like an ignorant Sue. So she can be pretty. She can be pretty dumb and gullible. This is the reason why she's a Mary Sue is because good things just happened to her, and she can just do anything she wants to without trying.
Really.
Like sitting on a rock and destroying an island almost because she's so naturally powerful and tuned with the Force.
It, it,
Even Luke is blown away.
yeah, it's in any case, we'll just drop that line of reasoning from here. Rey goes to Octo in the end of Force Awakens to get training from Luke. See, she's such a Mary Sue that she even realizes she needs some training. Yeah.
Does she need training?
Well, either way, she goes, I need to be stronger, I guess. No, she doesn't go to Luke to get stronger. She goes to Luke to figure out what's going on.
I think in the Last Jedi, she just goes over there to bring him back because
Yeah.
help. She doesn't go there specifically for training.
I mean, the secondary goal could be to get training, but she's not betting on that, I don't think.
Yeah, she even outright states it in the movie why she's there to bring him back.
But Eric likes to focus on his argument, which is she wanted to go get training.
Even though she says she's going there to bring him back, she really was going there for training.
Yep.
That's his
Thank you.
argument.
Thank you, Eric Kain. Now we know how to watch movies. We just listen to you. But in
You don't
true
listen to
Star
our
Wars
movies.
fashion, oh my God, here we go. I hate when people say in true movie, like it's like, what do you mean?
True Star Wars fashion.
She only gets a
Little bit
little
of
bit of training, and by little bit we mean next to none.
Yeah, just like, what, a couple of days, maybe a couple of hours
A couple
altogether.
seconds.
Like when in other Star Wars movies was it just a little bit of training, like in actual time? Like we might see a little bit of training, only a little bit of training, and you might only hear about some training, but they had years and years or months and months of training. It was just a couple of days.
For Ray, she had one lesson where she sat down and focused her feelings, and then for some reason the Earth broke.
Yeah, she was just so good. Not only did she succeed, she just overwhelmed the test and
I don't
snapped the ground like a twig.
I don't even think that's succeeding. I think she was just asked to just, focus, and then just stuff broke, and you're like, well, that's a fail. She didn't do anything. You're supposed to feel things, not break things. Like, imagine if that was the result of her training, and she
She's so
pilots the
powerful.
Millennium Falcon. It's like, here we go, boom, blows it up.
That's what should have happened.
Yeah,
Just blown it up.
her telekinetics just blow things away. She's like, what's going on? Apparently,
That would
people
make more
think
sense. That she's so powerful that she just can't control it and starts destroying things around her, and she becomes like a danger to herself and others. Now that would be something we could work with.
yes, because then it shows how powerful she is and how raw powerful she is, but she has little control. So she's a danger to herself and anyone she comes across.
Yes, that would make her less of Mary Sue, or might absolve her completely if it's done right. But doesn't happen. She's can just none of her friends get in danger,
That
and the
would have
only
been a great idea in her possible turn to the dark side because she's working off her emotions and
yeah,
she's scared and she's desperate and she's angry and she's like like just pushing Kylo Ren away. Kylo ran away, and he gets thrown back. He's like, "What the hell?" And then he starts pushing her, and then like they're fighting.
Yeah,
And
that would been awesome for or a setup for her to go to the dark side. That's why I
yeah,
wanted her to like take Kylo's hand when he offers it to her.
right. And I'd be
I
like,
thought she
"Oh,
was going to take it for a second, but that would have been interesting. So she didn't.
well, no, can't do that. Can't have a pretty boy tell other girl what to do. That'd be a man force splaining.
Force plane.
Yeah, through the whatever that connection was, we still don't know. Skype chat thing, whatever. That's not really important though. Okay, thanks, Aaron. We'll just forget what you said. This entire sequence mirrors the Dagobah scenes from Empire. Really, we have the training, the dream sequence in the cave, and so forth, with Luke teaching instead of Yoda. To the Impish Jedi Master makes a surprise appearance to help Luke out. Okay, big difference between these two scenes. The scene in the cave where Luke sees himself as what he could become.
Yeah, he sees Darth Vader come in. He kills Darth Vader, but he sees his face in Darth Vader's
Right,
broken mask.
which is by that point in time we know what's going on in the story. It's like okay, yeah,
Because I think at that moment Luke was going along with the training, but just so he could defeat Darth Vader, and then he was kind of being consumed by his own ambitions and everything.
right.
But
Whereas
that moment was when he switched. We're like, oh, okay,
where it's a
realization.
yeah, where it's a warning to Luke saying this is what's going to happen to you if you go this path. Whereas Rey, she's in this mirror room, and she's like, "Who are my parents?" He's like, "I don't know," and that was it. That was it. That was the message. We don't know.
She has to
It's
face any fears or problems or get in tune with her own failures and flaws. It's just, who are my parents? I have no idea. Okay.
nothing. We have no idea what her faults are. We have no idea. If we could say her desire to be with her parents is a fault, I would say that's more of a motivation. But okay, let's say it's a fault. What did we learn from that? Nothing.
Nothing.
She
She
has
doesn't learn
them.
anything.
Okay, she has them. What does that mean? Nothing. What is she going to do with them? Nothing. Does she have
Like,
a sense of belonging? We think.
if she has a drive to find her parents, I mean, she does want to have a sense of belonging, someone to connect with. She wants to see her family again. So, if they would have had her vision of the cave be more like coming to terms with her sense of belonging or coming to terms with how much she actually needs other people, then that would have been something more like what happened on Dagobah.
Right. And we do see the scene with Luke before, or is it before or after this, where she says, I want to know what this all means. It's like, okay, you want to figure out why you have these powers and all this other crap. It's like, okay, how does that tie into this scene? It doesn't. It's just another expression of, oh, she doesn't know what she wants. She doesn't know who she is. But nothing gets developed. It's just, yeah, we know that already. She still wants it. So
It
do something with it.
basically, it's a whole scene meant to mirror the Dagobah scene, but all it does is answer something we already established in the first movie.
Yeah, it's kind of a waste. This is what Ryan Johnson has done in pretty much every scene he tries to make funny or do a twist on. He doesn't actually give you anything to work with.
It's all superficial.
It's we were expecting that and then nothing.
And
And
he mocks all the serious parts of the previous films and everything.
right,
It's all right, well, cool. This is going to be like what happened to Luke, and then he just makes it into a joke, and then he tries to do his own thing, and it's shallow and meaningless.
yeah, he turns Hux into a joke just because he thought he was funny. He turned the bombers into a joke because he wanted flying cows or something. I mean, he deliberately did these things, and there
Also,
was
is it a joke that he has a character named Hux and he has a character named Finn?
I it's hard to say. The problem is no one caught this. No one on quality control or the set or the writer's room went, "Hey, buddy, wait, whoa, 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 what are you doing? Why?" And they just let him go with it.
Yeah, it's like no one cared. It's like I mean, these problems are almost pretty easy to fix. Only these little tweaking, but it seems like nobody cared. No one was giving Overwatch because it's Star Wars and just pump it out and they'll make a ton of money no
Yeah, I
matter
mean,
what.
if this script came to me and he says, "Okay, you want to keep these elements? All right, well, you have to do one extra thing in each of these scenes to give it a level of plot or depth or meaning, so that there's an even a surface level explanation why things are happening. Like that would be it, the bare minimum, and that never happened. So whether Rey is a Mary Sue or not, it still comes down to this is a bad scene with a bad trope. So whether you think it's a good trope is irrelevant because the scene is still bad.
It's almost like he read TV tropes, but he doesn't know how to actually use them.
That goes both for Erik Kain and Ryan Johnson because it's possible Erik Kain read them and was like, nope, 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 nope. Oh, there's mine. I want that one, and he
That's
cherry
the one
picks,
and only
and then he
one true,
rewrites the God Mary Sue into his own version, and then that's right.
the one true God Mary Sue.
Yeah. The whole Rey leaving thing is what's important, of course, since it's exactly what Luke did in Empire when he learned that his friends were in danger. Yoda tells him not to go, that he hasn't finished his training, but he goes anyway, whereas Rey just leaves.
Yeah, she just leaves, and there's no tension with the audience that okay, she's leaving, she's not going to be able to complete her training, she's going off basically to her doom, or she might stay, let her friends die, but be able to become a powerful Jedi Master. But that's not present anywhere. She just leaves.
Why didn't she just beat Luke up fully? Because she beat him up, but not all the
Yeah,
way.
like what if
Knock him
Luke beat
out.
up Yoda? What if Yoda said don't leave, Luke, and then Luke beat up Yoda and left? That kind of diminished the whole teacher
That would be
student.
horrible. Yoda at first would never let that happen, but still, it'd just be like, oh my god.
Yeah, Luke shouldn't let it happen either. He should have been able to beat Rey pretty easily.
Throw her off the cliff like by a mile. Just like launch her into the
Just
sky.
like or this at least like push her off the cliff and then just hold her there like real easy where she can't do anything or else she'll fall.
Yeah, and he's like, come here. You want to try this again, lady? Come on.
Yeah, something. But she just beats him up real easy.
And if she can beat him up, and if her mission was to bring him back, tie him up.
Also, what good is he if she can beat him up that easy, like within a couple of seconds? Why don't she
Exactly.
just go out? Why don't she just go on and beat the entire First Order by herself?
Yeah, I mean, if all it takes is one robot to change Luke's mind because of the message from Episode 4, it's like, how much more is Luke a nostalgia freak? Like, is this all we have to do? It's like, hey, dude, here's your gun you had when you were a kid, and here's I don't know, here's your sister's necklace. Or I don't know, like whatever. Just get in touch with Leia or
And
something. Like, get her on the phone.
I still don't even understand why it couldn't have been Luke going in there in person. That he had a force project. That's dumb, but that's another topic altogether.
Anyway, Rey goes before training is also complete into even greater danger. Yeah, but it makes no sense how she got there and why. She wants to turn Kylo Ren away from the dark side. Again, that makes no sense. And thinks she can because they share some kind of force connection. Again, this is all dumb. Her reasoning is dumb.
Basically, just talked on the phone a couple of times, and all of a sudden they're friends.
I see his future. He can be turned. It's like, okay, good luck with that, buddy. And she
That
bypasses the entire First Order fleet
easily,
somehow, launches herself through an escape pod, somehow doesn't get shot out, and just gets accepted.
and she knows all this about Kylo Ren because she's just that awesome in the Force. I mean, this is something like you'd see a Jedi Master do. That
Yeah,
the apprentice would turn to his master, and his master would say the words, "I felt his power. I'm feeling he can be turned."
right. Like he would have the experience and the understanding of what these feelings meant, and he would do crazy stuff like, well, I'm just going to sit in space for 15 hours and wait for someone to find me. Don't worry. I can
Yeah,
feel the force is guiding me and someone's going to pick me up or whatever. It's like, okay, great.
like everything Rey and Leia does, Luke should have been doing this whole time.
Yeah.
He should have been breaking mountains and moving boulders and surviving the vacuum of space.
But here's his best point so far. This is where the entire Rey as a Mary Sue argument falls apart into a million tiny stupid pieces. Okay. I love these expressions.
All right, here we go. All right, convince me.
Rey is fooled handily by Snoke. She is fooled into thinking she can turn Kylo Ren, who fooled her. And even when it seems like she was right, when he kills Snoke and saves her life, it turns out she was wrong all along. So who fooled her?
She wasn't fooled. I
She
mean,
she thought this in her own mind. So was she her own fool?
she came to the same conclusion, and she was probably right about being able to turn Kylo because he does seem like he's wavering from time to time. Also, he does turn on Snoke and kill him, so he does turn a little bit,
But
even though he
because of
goes right back into it.
the events of the explosion, and then they're fighting over the lightsaber, and then Kylo just lets her go. She ran away.
And and again he got knocked out. She didn't. So they got hit by the same explosion. She managed to walk away clean. Kylo lives left unconscious. She could have easily just finished him right there if she wanted to.
She places herself in grave peril and barely makes it out alive. Yeah, she's crazy, overpowered. How did she do all this crap?
She didn't. There was no peril. She just walked in. We knew she was going to survive. She's crazy powerful. She probably knew she was going to survive.
And only survives because Kylo Ren saves her from Snoke and then helps her take down Snoke's guards. Again, he fought most of them while she only barely fought off one.
What? No, she didn't. She fought off a bunch of them.
Like half the freaking
Yeah, like, I think
room.
they each took half. She
Yeah.
beat all of hers, and then she had to go and help Kylo beat the rest of his.
Yeah. Again, he fought most of them while she only barely fought off one. I don't think this guy watched that scene very well.
I don't think this guy has seen any Star Wars movies. He just, I think he's read about them, but I don't think he's actually seen them.
I distinctly remember her fighting off at least three guys with
Yeah,
different
it wasn't just
weapons.
one. It was a bunch of them. She fought off a bunch of them.
There was the guy with the chain. There was the guy with the two daggers, and we know that because the dagger one gets removed from the movie.
Yeah,
And then there was the other guy with the axe.
and the guards were cool. The guards were really cool. It was a really
They
good
were
fight.
cool. Their choreography was horrible, but it was still a cool fight scene.
Yeah, but she still ended up beating like most of them pretty handedly. She didn't really get into any trouble. Then she saved Kylo Ren because he's a man and he needs help. He
Yeah.
can't really do anything by himself. So
And she actually did a technique where you turn off the lightsaber and turn it back on. That's an actual EU technique that Jedi use
oh,
of
it
how,
was
like how to fight. And she did that, and I was like, oh, how did
that
she
was
know
actually pretty
that?
cool. I thought that scene was actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
I
no, it
thought
was good. It's just like, oh, that's an actual technique. If you look at some of the sword forms and techniques that masters use, that is one of them. Like they also explain why don't the Jedi simply turn off the lightsaber of the other opponent? Like they explain why they can't do that.
yeah.
So, like there's all these little details of the believability of lightsaber dueling. So for her to just figure that out is like, how? Like what?
Again, the Force just gave her knowledge that she
Yeah.
shouldn't otherwise have.
The final showdown between her and Kylo Ren over the lightsaber resulted in a tie, though she wasn't knocked unconscious. I'm not sure if being knocked unconscious makes her Mary Sue. Okay, well, if you have two people and the same thing happens to them, and one of them doesn't get knocked unconscious,
And the one does.
and the other one is trained and just as powerful,
You might have a Mary Sue on your
you,
hands.
you might have a Mary Sue, buddy. It's a good sign. That's actually a really good metric because again, they have the same power. Apparently, they have the same power level.
Yeah, it's been stated in the movie they have the same power level
The
apparently.
other one is more trained. They're both in tip top shape. Well, not tip top, but they went through a battle. They're fine.
Yeah,
One has more
they fought the
training.
same enemy. They
Yeah,
fought the same enemy.
and boom, the other one wins. Very soon.
They both experience the same explosion. Kylo gets unconscious. She apparently just walks away fine and
Yeah,
escapes.
and the room is symmetrical, right? There's no like different like
Yeah,
ground. There's no
yeah.
barriers.
Made a point of showing you how symmetrical it is.
Yeah, so pretty
She's
good
just so
evidence there.
awesome. She's just that awesome.
I don't know why he can't wrap his brain around that, but because he's biased, he's like, nope, not valid, not a valid point.
You're just wrong.
From there, Rey does two things the rest of the film. She shoots at no, she does way more things. We just don't see it. Again, she escapes the entire First Order. Of course she can. She's Mary Sue.
She
She
does
she
all these impossible things off screen.
she,
That's
she steals Snoke's ship, his personal ship, not just a random ship, the ship of the guy in charge. Don't you
the
think
ship
that
you
would have
think.
been like security locked up the
Yeah,
ass?
security like locked out, security lockout, security on board, fighting killer droids, things that make it impossible for someone to just walk in and take it.
So she can somehow pilot this alien craft she's never been in before bypass guards, bypass security, bypass the shields, escape from the First Order as she's leaving the ship. Because again, they would know that someone's stealing a ship, and they see it going. It's like that's Snoke's ship. Is he leaving? No
Yeah,
one can fly that. Only
they did that
Snoke
in the
can.
original trilogy. They did that in the original trilogy. They know when ships are
Yeah.
leaving and coming in.
It's like she could do all that. Then she manages to connect with Chewbacca on the Millennium Falcon, gets rid of this amazing ship, which apparently should have been amazing because it's Snoke's ship. He wouldn't just want any old ship. He would want like the best.
Yeah.
So she ditches it, which may have had all this firepower and who knows what. Goes somehow connects back to the Millennium Falcon through space. Again, we're talking about docking. You don't just dock in space. It's this whole process. So if you have no hangar bay to land, you have to like have this external third mechanism to walk along. Like maybe there was an escape pod through. Why would you again? Why are you abandoning this ship? It's dumb.
Like Chewie could have piloted the Millennium Falcon, and she could have piloted that one. She knows how to pilot every ship in existence.
Yeah, and they would have
Why
been
don't it take two ships to go save everybody?
they would have been even more awesome fighting off the First Order on Crate. Actually, the Crate guys would be like, "What the hell? It's Snoke's ship."
Yeah, well, it's Snoke coming in. That would have given him a huge advantage.
They would have been like, "Oh, everyone stop firing! It's the Supreme Leader. We might hit him." And it's like,
And then
"There's your distraction. We don't need Luke."
yeah, and then Kylo could have been like, fire that ship. That's not Snoke, and everyone else was like, no, we're not listening to you. That's Snoke up there. We're not gonna listen to you, Kylo.
Oh, she could have done some really cool things where it's modulating. Because again, she's amazing. She could have no visual, but she could have had a voice, and no one knows like the voice of the Supreme Leader. So it's like, oh, it must be him. And Kyle is running, shoot that ship. It's like, and then Hux is like, what are you talking about? He's alive.
Like,
We saw.
might as well. I mean, why not? How come she just couldn't do that? She could does everything else. Just mimic Snoke's voice.
That would have been a really smart maneuver.
In
Uh,
Snoke's ship.
and you still could have had Luke done his bullshit teleportation thing or whatever. It still would have worked.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, what the hell is going on? That would have been brilliant because then you have these two people like you could do comedy with that, you could do drama with that. You can get Kylo just flipping out, and that would have been. I think that would have been. Well, again, we're trying to connect scenes that were just jumped.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're trying to
That's
fix
actually
problems.
that's actually a documented um, element of a Mary Sue is that they do a bunch of impossible, awesome, over the top stuff off screen because it's so easy for them that it's
Yeah.
just not it's not even worth showing the
Yeah,
audience
the backstory is like, oh, they first in their class, they're half Vulcan, can solve all this. It's like, whoa, how, when, where?
It doesn't matter. They're so awesome that it's not even worth showing you. It'd be so boring. I think when it comes along in fan fiction, usually it's when it's self-insert. The Mary Sue character just beats all the main bad guys off screen so they can focus on the romantic love triangles and stuff. But
Yeah,
it is the main element of a Mary Sue is they do all this incredible, impossible stuff off screen.
yeah. So getting from A to B is if there's a jump in time or a jump in scenes or distance, and it's not explained, and there's so much information that's lacking, you're like, wait a second, there's like 5 variables here that don't add up, and boom, Mary Sue, no problem. So from there, Rey does 2 things the rest of the film. She shoots at bad guys. All right, again, we're skipping ahead because we talked about escaping the First Order from the gun seat and piloted by Chewbacca, and she moves rocks in a wonderfully funny callback to her description of what the Force. Yeah, again, she does a triple kill, the Millennium Falcon, on one shot, and she moves boulders that no sane Jedi, at least from the movies, can do. Not even Yoda. Yoda can move an X-wing. That's a big object. She can move 50 boulders that probably weigh as much.
Yeah, at least.
And they're neatly moved out of the way, and they neatly, gently fall down, and everyone just walks out, and it's like no big deal.
It's like Moses part in the Red Sea.
It is like Moses. It is. It's if Moses picked the freaking ocean up and then parted it neatly. It's ridiculous.
She has more power than a guy who's literally given God powers.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about last time. If she could just break all the rocks, because she broke the rocks or the rock face with Luke, then it'd at least be like, oh, she trained how to do that. Look, and now
Yeah,
she's
it would make
breaking all
sense.
the rocks. Oh, it makes sense.
I don't think Luke ever showed us her learning how to levitate things.
No.
She can break rocks. We know that.
Yeah, see that would have made sense. They'd be like, okay, yeah, she was trained. She wasn't trained accurately. She wasn't trained to focus it, but she was trained, and it's the same training. So it's like, good. She's X does Y, and X and Z does Y as well. Perfect. It still doesn't make too much sense, but at least it's the same. So again, she pulled it out of her ass. The story didn't show us how. Who saves the day? Luke. No, he doesn't. But that's a story for another time because the equally silly not my Luke arguments need to be addressed as well. Okay, well, not in this plot or this post, but we'll get there. In the end, okay, wait, let's just look at the image here. It's okay that Rey is super competent and powerful. This is space. Okay, here we go. Here's the argument. It's space fantasy. You don't have to use your brain. You don't have to remember the story. You don't have to focus on lore. It's fantasy. It's a wizards, a bunch of wizards just doing
He
stuff.
uses this argument so much. Like this is what be a core element of his argument. Like it's cool sci-fi fantasy stuff. Anything can happen. This is the archetypical argument of someone
You
who
can do
wants to
that.
defend something so much.
You can do that in the first film. You can do that in a flashback film where it's like the first of every chronology. So that's like this is stuff that happened in the beginning.
Yeah,
But then you
stuff.
have to subvert that as you go through the film so that people forgot or the knowledge was lost or the technology was destroyed or whatever. You can do it that way, but you can't do it in the seventh. Sorry, the what is this? Yeah, the eighth,
Seventh and eighth.
seventh and eighth part of a trilogy where we have all this lore, which contradicts how the magic stuff works. You can't just say
Yeah,
it's magic. It's magic. You can do anything. No,
doesn't work that way. It does not work that way.
if everything was magic, then nothing would have any value. It's like why didn't the
There's no value, no meaning, and most of all, there will be no tension at all.
yeah,
Just anything could happen.
why didn't Luke, who's obviously more of a Mary Sue than Ray, just do all this crap? Because
Yeah, why
magic.
couldn't he? Why couldn't he just like to just look up at the Death Star and just crush it with his
Yeah,
force powers? Because of
just
magic, you know.
it's magic. It's
It,
a
it,
ridiculous argument to make.
I mean, it's more of a viable argument in the very first installment of a series, but even then, it's still not something you can really argue because even the first installment of a franchise has to have its own laws and boundaries.
Yeah, you can't just write magic with no boundaries. What the hell do
Because
you
of magic.
look at? Again, we bring up Harry Potter again, but they designed an entire school. They went through the life of a boy becoming a young man and his entire journey at a school about magic and the rules and the categories and the versions of wizards and the types. That was a fleshed out, believable world with boundaries. It's true that Star Wars doesn't have as many boundaries, but it still has them. And as soon as you go over those boundaries, you have to explain how and why. That's
Yeah,
it. That's all you got to do.
because they even show us like Luke has the ability to levitate things and summon the lightsaber to his hand, but he still can't do certain things. Like he can't just like break apart planets or anything like that. There's limits, and they show us those limits. We know those limits by this point. She's breaking those limits.
Yeah, there's a scene I remember with where I think it's the bantha or not the bantha, but he gets stuck in the cave, Luke, and he's trying to grab the lightsaber to him, and we don't know he can do that yet, but he's struggling, and
Yeah,
he's trying hard. He's like focusing and focusing and focusing, and finally, at the last second, boom, he gets it.
and that's where the tension comes in because we don't, as an audience, at that point in time, we don't know that he can do that. It's just something that he seems to be trying, hoping that he can do, but we don't know that he can positively do that, and that's why there's tension in that scene.
Right. So when we see Rey overpower Kylo, do that by grabbing a lightsaber, we're like, okay, wait a second here. It's one thing for Luke to do that because he's desperate and struggling, and it's one way communication. But we're talking about two Force users, one who's skilled and one who's not. It's like, okay, it doesn't matter how strong she is, she doesn't know what she's doing. She's just like looking at the thing, please come to me, where he's like, lady, please. And for some reason, the story has to let her win. So
She can never lose. She can't lose
can't
once.
lose. Mary Sue. So in the end, training has only a tertiary importance, not according to Yoda, Obi-Wan, every Jedi, every Sith, every character we've seen talk about training and practice and discipline and meditation and rage and all that stuff. We hear about it, we see it happening a little. No, we have entire Jedi temples full of Jedi training every day for generations. But it's never front and center, and it's never the point of the movies. They have they have little kids with baby lightsabers with helmets on, like Luke did when he was training, deflecting blaster bolts, which is for me terrifying because if you have kids with lightsabers, like what the hell? But those kids must have been trained how to use those things so that they don't hurt themselves.
Yeah, they needed training.
Which means that's a hell of a lot of training for a kid. That's not like if you give a kid a deadly weapon, you are asking for trouble. And for these kids to each have their own lightsaber is like, oh my god. So when I saw that, I was laughing. But I went, wait a second. They've been trained since birth, probably. They probably have something going on where they're not stupid. You know, it's like this is a weapon,
Yeah,
kids. Don't use this.
because they have to be young. Even the original trilogy, when Luke went to Yoda to get training, Yoda refused it, and it was Ben who came in with his Force Ghost powers and says, "Hey, I was the same as him." So he convinces Yoda to train Luke, basically. So because Luke was too old, he had to be young to start this journey. Normally,
Yeah.
ideally,
Yeah, again, the progression is the key there. You have to show it. It doesn't matter exactly what the rule is of how the magic works. You have to show whether it's training or nature or, God-given gift, whatever. You have to show it. You have to show the development of the character because that's what stories are. You have a character that goes on a journey that has a conflict. They learn from that conflict and failure. They get stronger. They get better. Boom. With Rey, she did not fail fighting Kylo Ren. The story just
yeah.
says, nope, no more fight.
At worst, she ends up in draws, but she still comes out on top. Like she
Yeah.
wins a little bit more than the other guy. At worst.
So again, Kane keeps going here. The Force is the point. Having that magical power enables our heroes and villains to do outlandish, unbelievable things because it's magic. It's magic with rules. And then he says, how did Harry Potter talk to that snake in the first book movie? Magic with rules. I don't know the exact
They explained
scenario.
it pretty well. Like because he had it was a Voldemort could speak parcel tongue, and then when he zapped Harry Potter, Harry Potter got the knowledge because you can get knowledge from other people in Harry Potter world. That's been established. See, that's how Harry was able to learn parcel tongue because he kind of learned it when Voldemort put a little bit of himself into Harry Potter.
Yeah. I love these next few sentences. How did he send Dudley into the snake's enclosure without training? Magic. I don't know, but I'm guessing it's a little more complicated than that.
It's
Th-
just magic, you know.
yeah, seriously, it's magic, people. Stop overanalyzing it to death. We're not overanalyzing it to death. We're just looking at the lore and going, well, here we have examples of Jedi doing this, and they're saying you need training, you need training, you need training. The message of the movies from with Luke was you need training, you need training. The message from
Yeah,
the prequels are you need training, you need training.
it's all even the games. You need training. You need training. You need to develop these skills. And if we go by this argument that he's giving us, if we go by everything he's been saying so far, they wouldn't need training. They could just apparently siphon
Yeah,
knowledge out of people's heads.
yeah,
So
and his
training is
his and his what he's saying in italics here. Stop overanalyzing, which we're not,
overanalyzed.
and you'll enjoy the movies more. Turn your brain off, folks. You're
Yeah,
doing
don't
it
stop
wrong.
thinking. It's like the government. Just stop thinking. Just listen. Just obey. Just go along with it. Turn your brain off.
Or
That's
the
something you
uh,
should
the
think about.
Patrick Willems quote: "You're watching movies wrong." It's like I don't need a self-appointed, biased, subjective reviewer telling me how to watch a movie when there's no evidence to support your claims.
Well, I can understand that he turned his brain off all the time.
Well, that's what he's going for. I went to a rip roaring good time, and that's exactly what he got.
Like it seems like he forgot to switch it back on. But most people don't do that. Most people need something tangible to hang on to. That's why every world has its own rules.
Every science fiction, whether it's sci-fi or space opera, has rules. You have to explain and show them, and they
That's
have to
the
be consistent.
Yeah, that's the other archetypical the argument of people who don't have an argument for things they want to defend. One, it's magic, just deal with it, and two, just stop thinking about it, turn your brain off, and just enjoy it. It's just a piece of entertainment. Those are the two main arguments you usually hear
It
from
is
people.
such a belittling of the audience. It is such an insult to our intelligence, to actual fans of the stories and the movies who know lore, who go, listen, these things do not follow previously established points. And if they don't, it has to be explained. This is what happens when you have more than one author. And you see that in the movies, at least in these movies, where Lucas was not at the helm. And now Lucas wasn't perfect with the mitochondrians, but they didn't break anything. They just sort of like,
Yeah,
oh, they reduced it to an organism in your body, as
yeah,
opposed to
he diminished it, but he didn't break anything. But he kept the rules. He kept true to the rules he'd already established.
right. It doesn't prevent the other rules from operating. He's just limiting the scope of what we think of the force. It's like, no, 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 it's not a spiritual force. It's literally organisms in your body. So,
And I really don't like this new trend these people are giving off. Like if you can't be serious about anything, everything is just a joke. Everything is just it's mock worthy if you take anything seriously. It has to be something that's just you shouldn't care about it. I mean, I'll work on it, get money, but you shouldn't care about it. That's what professionals do. Professionals don't
yeah,
care about things.
there's nothing wrong with mocking something which is ridiculous. There's nothing wrong with that, especially when you have evidence. You want to mock something because you find it funny and you have no evidence? Well, you're going to be a clown, but you have to have some value behind your reaction, or else everyone's going to look at you like, what the hell is he talking about? Why is he laughing? It's a door. You
Yeah,
open it. It goes one way and the other way. It's it.
and it would be fine if he brought in like examples and evidence. But this is the third part we've seen from him, third article, and it's every time he makes an argument, it's consistently been, "Oh, I think it's this way. I'm pretty sure it's this way. I feel it's this way."
Right.
It's all conjecture. It's all things. He's just making connections with nothing to back it up.
Yeah, now he's going back to Luke again. So Luke was able to blow up the Death Star and had better aim than any highly trained stormtrooper. You can't be bothered that Rey was able to do things better than an average human being. Again, that is a contrivance so that the plot continues and we don't have dead heroes. It was handled poorly. It could have been handled better, but it doesn't show that Luke is some sort of god. It's an ongoing joke. It's like there's going to be spaceships in a Star Wars movie shooting at each other. The stormtroopers are going to have horrible aim. Even in the what is it, not the prequels, but the offshoots, the Rogue One,
Oh yeah.
stormtroopers still have horrible aim. It's just an ongoing thing. Her exceptional competency is a good thing ultimately because it makes her different than Luke. What? It's a good thing because she's different? That's bizarre. What if she's horrible? It's a good thing because she's horrible. I might agree because then she'd have flaws. But it's good, therefore. Oh,
She's different. It's different. Therefore, she's good. It's good. That's
that
how.
is the dumbest. Mary Sue's are different, therefore they're good. Are you joking?
That's
Luke,
basically that. This goes along with this diversity thinking. It's diverse, therefore it's good.
Luke went
It's
on.
different,
Yeah,
therefore it's
Luke.
good.
Here we go. I love this. Luke went on a very typical hero's journey, from farm boy to galaxy saving hero in the course of 3 films. Yes, you're right.
3 films.
That's a good thing. You
It's only
understand, Erik Kain. Thank
3
you.
films. He didn't start off the most awesome guy in the galaxy from minute 1.
Yeah, he had to get up there. But Rey didn't start out as a farm girl. She started off as a tough as nails survivor. Yes, that's it. She's a survivalist. She's not a Jedi master. Do you understand the difference, Mr. Erik Kain?
And again, she survives alone in the middle of a desert world by herself. Uh, just because she's so awesome, not because she had someone teach her these things, but just because she's awesome.
It's just bizarre his reasoning here. Like he's making such a good point that yeah, it's a hero's journey where we see the progression of skills and knowledge and failures and getting stronger, then failing again. Yes, that's what happens to Luke. With Rey, she misses. She screws up the first time, and then seconds later she wins. That's
The
not a
only
hero's
thing,
journey.
the only progression we see from Rey is how the audience progressing to see how actually awesome she is. Like, okay, she's this awesome. Oh wait, no, wait a minute, she's actually this awesome. No, wait, she's even more awesome than that. The audience is progressing. She's not really.
Ah, I love how he just keeps going. He's just like, you're watching movies wrong, guys. Look,
You're watching movies
my
wrong.
best advice is stop ruining your experience by picking Ray's character apart. She has no character, buddy. We're poking at it. It's like there's nothing there.
She's a pair of pants. That's all she is.
She has a stick and she wants to go to mommy and daddy, but they're not there. That's it. She's a badass, and that's okay. No, it's not okay. Why is she? How is she a badass? How how did she earn being a survivalist?
She herself wasn't really a badass. It's more of the the force. Like everything that she does is awesome is because of the force. She's just naturally awesome with the force.
She's a survivalist because she survived. Okay, great. So what? How is she an awesome Jedi Master? Because of the Force. How? It's magic.
It's cause. Just cause.
It's okay that everything is that it's okay that not everything is explained to us in great detail. We don't want great detail. We want some detail. We want any detail. We want to say, how does A follow B?
Yeah,
How
at
does
least
that
enough
work?
information that things kind of make sense. That way we can surmise why it would make sense.
Even if it's a bad excuse, like their parents were Sith masters, it's like that's dumb. But okay, fine.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, I'd turn my brain off for that a little bit, but
Give us an explanation.
it'd be
Make
something.
make it believable. It doesn't have to be a good explanation. It doesn't have to be a detailed explanation. But give us something. That's all.
I think this premise would work a lot better if they didn't go with the hero's journey thing. They just made her they went like more of an action movie,
Yeah.
like
If,
John Wick
if it was
scenario.
a stupid I'm a force user badass who's been at killing people for all my like she's a survivalist, so she's been around for a while.
Yeah, just exiled herself to a desolated desert world. Now
Yeah.
she's being forced out of retirement because X, Y, and Z. The bad guys are back.
Kylo
I'd take that. I'd
and
take that.
Rey aren't like the past Jedi Sith in that they're incredibly powerful for some reason. Um,
For some reason.
dude, what, are you trying to shoot yourself in the foot? Like what?
They're incredibly powerful for some reason. We don't know what that reason is. They're just incredibly
He
powerful.
just can't call her Mary Sue. He just doesn't like the term. I think that's it. He just doesn't like it. He's like, I don't like the term. Stupid.
Okay, yes, she's a Mary Sue, but she's not. Okay, she's not.
Maybe Snoke coming from the unknown regions of space was one reason the Force is awakening. Maybe he tripped over wire and opened some door. Are you retarded? Are you like what are you doing, Erik Kain? Why are you speculating? You were doing such well. You speculated in the beginning with that stupid. Maybe he could. She read some more from Kylo's brain when she mind raped her. It's like okay, you
That's
reached
really
there,
dumb.
buddy.
It's really dumb, but at the farthest reaches, it could technically make sense.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. One thing is certain: we don't need to talk about midichlorian counts anymore. Why not? That would at least be something.
Metaclarian counts made more sense than what you're proposing, man.
I would settle for I would like a little device, and she accidentally pokes herself with it, and it goes 5 gajillion, and she doesn't know what that means. But
Yeah, a
the
lot of
audience,
metachlorian. Okay, well that's something.
yeah, be like, great, okay, she's off the charts. She's basically a god, but she's like a stupid god. It'd be great.
The ignorant Sue.
I'd go with that. We can leave some things up to mystery and guesswork. I'm okay with that. Yes, so am I. If we have an explanation, I just hope to God there's a time. Oh, I, here's where he draws the line. I hope we did a time jump between 8 and 9, and Ray gets some off-screen training like Luke, so that we don't have to heck. Okay, so he's just tired of arguing. He doesn't care.
He's tired of being wrong.
It's just like Eric. Are you listening to people? Are you actually understanding their points? And he's not. He's just he's like, no, they're not Mary Sue. It's like, dude, this is the definition. We have all this evidence. I also hope she continues to be developed as a character. I hope to God she gets any development and is given more struggles to overcome and perhaps even fail, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
The
One
third movie
final thing.
development, that's a little
Yeah,
late.
no, it's just like bullshit. One final thing in the book Star Wars Before the Awakening, we get a bit more backstory from Rey, including her mastering of a flight sim. Okay, again, this is good, but it's not in the movie. You cannot use tertiary or external sources, even in the same franchise, to explain the problems or events of an existing franchise or an existing story, especially after the fact.
Yeah, because most people are just going to watch the movies.
Well, no, you're not here to play musical chairs or go hunt down the book to explain a plot hole. That's stupid. And for Erik Kain to say that is to me means he is so bad at an argument, and he's reaching, and he's saying, well, in over here in this book, she did some flight sims. It's like, dude, no, you argue the point from the primary source, not a tertiary source.
Yeah, I mean, the moment he uttered out the argument that it's a magical world, therefore anything can happen, and turn your
Yeah,
brain off,
no.
you're watching movies wrong. he had no argument.
Hopefully,
Everyone
this
can
is the
see.
last of his points. Five biggest problems, blah blah blah. He has other posts. I'm not. I don't think we want to go back to Eric Kane ever again. But the way that he formulated his argument and his evidence are so bad that you can easily see he's reaching. And we can easily make a video on how raise a Mary Sue, and list all the evidence. And then we can go to tvtropes.org or whatever and list all the Mary Sues and say, okay, she's not this one, she's not this one. Okay, she's somewhere between here and there. She's not completely perfect, but she's, for the most part, 80% perfect in everything she does.
She's getting more powerful and more powerful, and that's how the movies are going.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Who's going to train Rey between 8 and 9? Luke is dead. Like, who's left? Who's going to train her?
She's going to train herself, like she did
I guess,
in episode 8.
but I'm thinking leaning more towards Leia training her. I know Leia has no experience in the Force really either, but I mean, why not?
She's a god herself, may as well.
I might as well. I
And
mean,
it's all feelings, right? So all she has to do is feel.
yeah, she's probably gonna be like she probably awakens the Force herself and then becomes a master in a couple of months, and
That's
then can train Rey.
the force is female and feeling and
Yeah, the
more
Force is
F
female,
words. Yeah.
so she's obviously going to be just a natural master at everything. And then I'm guessing she's going to be the one who trains Rey.
It's it's a joke. I wish Eric Kane would understand it, but again, I'm not hoping on these people. They have this mindset where they stick their feet in and they don't move. They can't budge.
I mean, all three of his articles have been so bad. It's almost like he's making a parody of someone who argues terribly.
Yeah. And I know we talk about things in mainstream media or the fifth estate or how this is the blog generation and people on websites have more information and more faster access to news. And then you get people like Eric Kane who are so biased that their understanding of literature is very poor, or tropes for that. Like, you don't even have to understand literature to understand a trope. You just read the trope page and go, okay, this is
Yeah,
what this means.
you don't have to be a chef to know that food is bad. You don't have to be an artist to know that picture looks terrible.
Exactly.
You can figure it out on your own. It's real easy.
But Eric Kane invents his own straw man, and he says, "Listen, no one can attack this straw man because no one's adhering to my standard." It's like, dude, that's not like where are you getting this? It's
Most
not even in
rigid.
the it's not even in the TV trope. I was looking for. I was like, where is this semi perfect character? It's not there. Who can do anything and then wins the second time? It's not there. But everything else explains her behavior. Poorly written, contrived, fantasy, unexplained, female. It's like everything is just like, yeah, it's a Mary Sue, dude. It's like Wesley Crusher was not the perfect Gary Stu, but he comes really damn close.
Yeah, I mean, he saves his ship all on his own because he's so smart, and his smartness doesn't come from any like genetics.
He literally has a superpower.
Yeah, he's just
with the
He's just a
Traveler.
super genius. He's just a character who came from a superhero world and was thrown in the Star Trek world.
He's basically like a Mozart, although it's not explained. He ends up becoming this Traveler dude who can like shift through time and space with the Traveler, and
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous.
he's just awesome. He's just
We're not as angry about it because it's not a big deal, and his character gets written off.
yeah, he gets better. He gets way better.
Yeah, so it's not like It's the story of Star Trek is not about him, so it's like okay, fine, whatever. It's a
It's
stupid
about Luke. I mean, it's about the Jean-Luc Picard and everything.
Jean-Luc and his experiences not being a Frenchman and
Yeah, his British accent, Frenchman.
jumping into Shakespearean roles. It's like what's going on here?
Poor Patrick Stewart. And I know all of his career, he wanted to be an action star, but he never got the chance.
Yeah, I know. With his element of Dune, that was like, is Patrick Stewart a giant geek? Like, what's going on here?
He is. He loves driving. He loves. He loves. Like a contrary to his very sophisticated outlook, he's very into like guns and the trucks and driving them around. He's basically a redneck, despite his his very sophisticated accent and Shakespearean background. He's basically a redneck.
Okay, guys, I think we've exhausted our time as we should have with Senor Erik Kain. I wish him well. I hope he reads a book or two that changes his mind, but I don't
Oh,
bet
I hope
on
he
it.
watches the Star Wars movies.
Oh yeah, if he
I
actually
hope he
that'd be
watches them
great.
one day.
And he turns his brain on. That's it. Turn your brain on, sir.
Yeah, switch your brain back on.
We'd be happy to criticize you further if anything new comes your way. And as always, is Literature Devil and his wonderful channel, which I'll link to in the description. And check out his stuff, whatever you want. You got any shout outs you want to talk about that you have for your upcoming videos that you want to share?
Right now, I'm doing "Is Comicsgate Wrong?" where I explore the best I can the philosophies of Marvel and their diversity lines versus the philosophies of Comicsgate, the new indie movement that have removed politics and are just doing comics that they want to do that basically just bring comics back to the way they used to be, as opposed to Marvel pumping in politics and all that stuff into their works. And currently, I'm on video 2. It's out. I'm working on video 3. There might be a fourth. And
Wow.
basically, the whole series is comparing Marvel now, the diversity Marvel present, to its past self, which the past Marvel is where Comicsgate kind of aims toward what kind of comics should be.
That is a big project, sir. I wish you well. And if anyone checks that out, check out his channel. I'll link it in the description. Thank you, everyone, for sitting back. I've been doing this all day, so I'm kind of tired. And listening to my groggly voice. So we'll see you again next week. Not sure what, but thank you, everyone, and have a good day.
Don't switch your brain off.